years of taking a break from the Pokemon TCG. So I'm excited to see her play right now on stream and hopefully showcase these skills brought back to the game. I mean, brought it back swinging here.
Let's go, yeah. Winning in opportunity against one of the greats. Stéphane on the other side, one of the first players to play Cross-Seaver at Worlds. That card stinks.
Well, there you go. Stéphane, one of the first playing it, hopefully to success, I would hope.
I mean, you're Stéphane, you're probably going to do well, right?
That's true. That is very true. Well, we're going to be getting started very soon here in this match between these players. I think it's going to be pretty epic. We'll get into the intricacies of these deck lists and how this is going to map out. But first, we get to take a look at these prize cards for both of our players.
All right. You always start to worry about prize cards with the Gardevoir players. One Curlia. All right, you can work with that. One Octillery on the other side for Gwen. Yeah, these aren't too bad.
Not terrible. Could get a little clunky potentially. It kind of just depends on what else happens, but hopefully both these decks are consistent enough to outlast through these prize cards and get through this game. I'm excited to see this, Kyle.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those fireworks matchups. I feel like it's always pretty one-sided, just depending on if Gwen is able to work in those Inteleon VMAX early on, start to use the double gunner ability, and place damage counters on those Ralts and Curlia. If you can knock out those in combination, use that Medicham, maybe you can sneak out some easy victories.
Well, we have our fist bump here between our players, kicking off our Swiss Round 8 here in day one of Toronto, over on Stéphane's side of the field. We're going to have this Battle VIP pass being played straight away, so at least we're going to see some more Pokemon coming out here for Stéphane.
He's got the fancy French cards. I want those.
Yeah, I mean, when you're French, I guess you're playing French cards. Makes sense to me.
There you go. Gotta use what you got. Certainly, that VIP pass is allowed, and love to see that on the opening turn. Radiant Greninja eyed up. You see the energy in hand as well, so this could be a pretty solid opener. This is going to be a list that features the Mirage Step Curlia, as we see it down there at the very bottom of the list, thankfully. But yeah, that is a great way to guarantee that you don't have to worry about all those Ralts in play. Sometimes you do run into situations where you can get a little too clogged up there. You just like to play down that Curlia, find all of your Pokemon easily.
Yeah, you were talking, Kyle, about the nails. Look at that coordination there.
Oh, always. Stéphane knows what he's doing.
That is the exact same color of those sleeves. You'll love to see it. All right, we're going to see this concealed cards drawing into 2 additional cards to the hand.
Not ideal. Iono and Reversal are going to be some mid to late game kind of stuff, but ultimately Fog Crystal is going to help out evening this out, and maybe this is a situation where you can incorporate Mew, but safer choice would certainly be the Ralts.
Yeah, we're going to see what Stéphane goes for, looking at the hand here, also taking a quick look through the deck before making this decision off the Fog Crystal. Of course, going for a Psychic Pokemon, most likely, but also gives you the ability to search for Psychic Energy in other circumstances. But that Ralts is going to be that safe pick you're talking about, Kyle, coming down onto the field.
Yep, not much to worry about here. You usually have a little bit of time playing against the Rapid Strike deck. If they do attack early, it's not for much. So Ralts is going to be safe, attach that energy, and pass over the turn.
Passing over the turn to Gwen Tran here, starting us off with that Hisuian Heavy Ball. Going to take a look through the prize cards immediately here. Be able to take a basic Pokemon out if there is one, but I don't think there is. So we're just going to see the shuffle up, reorganization of those prize cards, and that Hisuian Heavy Ball going into the discard pile.
Oh, this hand's not great. It's just Iono. I mean, you can play down the Tower of Water if you want, but sometimes just having a counter stadium is going to be helpful. We don't need those cards. Let's find a Battle VIP pass.
Yeah, let's find something that we can use here. Iono is just going to reshuffle these hands, or shuffle the hands to the bottom of the deck and redo these hands. 6 cards each player. Stéphane not even picking them up yet. Gwen is going to get a fresh 6 cards to work with. Inteleon V coming into play, as well as that Nest Ball being played now to search out another basic Pokemon.
Yeah, we see Inteleon V likely eyed up here. If you are going to incorporate the Urshifu, it has to be at a point where you feel comfortable, and I'm not comfortable at all in this situation.
Yeah.
This is so awkward. You know that the Stéphane is going to find all of the Curlias and start to evolve, maybe even threaten with a rare candy Gardevoir on this next turn, and you need to have the setup of the Inteleons and the double gunners.
Yeah, those double gunners are going to work. That's the ability on Inteleon V Max to put damage counters onto your opponent's side of the field, as we kind of identified earlier here. What sort of is the map for Stéphane over here on the other side?
Yeah, I think
Kyle?
when you see that there's no Urshifu, there's obviously potential to use the Mirage Step Curlia. You can play that Pokemon in the active spot. You have those 2 open bench spaces for the 2 other Curlia, and then if you evolve one of your other Curlia from the Ralts that you have on the bench, you could have a really strong setup for turn 2. It looks like you will be able to survive at least one more turn without a knockout happening from Gwen's side, and then from there, it's Gardevoir City.
Yeah, Gardevoir City indeed. And once those Gardevoir come out, we're rolling. We're going to start seeing some knockouts here happen, and we can be flying into those prize cards. So, you know, Gardevoir is known as being the setup deck, but again, the setup decks, once you're set up, you got a lot of options here, and you're taking consistent knockouts back to back, and that's your game plan to get into a win here. So Stéphane taking out a Curlia here with that Ultra Ball.
Yeah, working into the refinement, you have access to this one right now, and then maybe if you're able to find the other Curlia to attack with, you can search out more. This may just be a setup where you potentially can work in this Cresselia early, however.
Oh, yeah.
We could see a rare candy Gardevoir in this situation, and if you do, that's a knockout on a Remoraid, most likely.
Yeah, that's true. Remoraid is kind of a tiny fish there, 60 HP Pokemon.
I'll agree.
Tiny fish, but a lot of skill balancing some rocks and a stick.
Yeah, go ahead, flex on him.
But yes, still small.
This is pretty close, honestly. There's Fog Crystal.
Ooh.
You can search out another
seeing
Psychic Energy. Discard that with Refinement. I mean, I think there's already 2 Psychic Energies in the discard pile, so you'll be fine either way. But go ahead and just search out one more. It can't hurt. Draw 2 cards. If either of them is the Gardevoir, then you can rare candy that Pokemon, and that is a quick knockout with Cresselia.
Ooh, we'll have to see what we can get into here. We're going to have that Refinement.
Giddy up.
Psychic Energy, giddy up indeed. What was it?
2 Psychics.
Oh.
That's not how this works.
That's what you want off of maybe Shining Arcana, but it's not there. That is not what we needed here, so.
Well, yeah, this is now a situation where you might have to think about this. The level ball could search out the Mirage Step Curlia, just find one more Refinement Curlia, and then you pass the turn over. Or you could find the Refinement and try to draw into the Candy Gardevoir once more.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
What do you like?
2 possibilities, and both of them are strong, but a little bit risky.
Oh,
It's
he's
Stéphane, thinking here. Maybe deciding which route to take here for this turn. Tough decision, but I'm not surprised. Gardevoir is not an easy deck to play whatsoever. There's so many options. You have so many cards disposable to you, but
BE aggressive. Here we go.
We're gonna see that Refinement Curlia come out for Stéphane. That's gonna be the route Stéphane's deciding to take. We're gonna see that Refinement, another energy.
Oh, was it? Oh, it was the Mirage Step Curlia. So you're not missing anything.
That's true.
There's rare candy Gardevoir. You could use the Shining Arcana and just try to find an energy.
Also true.
That works. You already drew a lot of energies.
Yeah, a lot of energies. I think there's like, what, 3, 4 in the discard?
Wow, these are tough calls for Stéphane.
I know, and it's so early game. Like, this is what, turn 2?
The aggression.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go, looking for a
Shining
Psychic.
Arcana.
No dice.
No dice there. No energy off that Shining Arcana. So those 2 cards are just going to go straight into the hands now. For Stéphane, It's just going to be an attachment here, a manual attachment to that Gardevoir.
Yeah, this is nice. It's any energies that you can accelerate to this Gardevoir without damaging this Pokemon means that your Brainwave can potentially knock out a VMAX Pokemon. You can accelerate these additional energies if you'd like, but in this case, it's just going to be the retreat, slow down. Maybe that Cresselia will be able to knock out that Remoraid on the following turn, but you can protect the hit points here.
Protecting the hit points, those energy going into the discard pile off of that hard retreat here from that Gardevoir. Cresselia now in the active position and over to Gwen's side. Let's see what they have in store for us. For Sealstone, gonna come down onto the field for Gwen. And
the order's not there. The water energies are found, but not the Inteleon VMAX. But this means that if you find the energy retrieval, you'll have access to plenty of water energies down the road. Those aren't the right evolutions, it looks like. That's a Squawkabilly and an Urshifu and an Alakazam.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, indeed. Yeah, 3 Inteleon VMAX. 1 is in the prize cards that we know of, so there's still 2 left. Well, we do have the Ultra Ball. We're going to discard some cards here to go into the deck, and it is just going to be those Pokemon, that Squawkabilly and that Urshifu VMAX, being discarded to go in here for a Pokemon that actually has some utility to us.
Hello, Sushi Master. Artillery does plenty of work here. Tower of Water in the hand, so the retreat is lined up. With the Forest Sealstone and the Rapid Strike Search, there's a combination of Rapid Strike Energy and Inteleon VMAX in order to take a knockout on this Cresselia. It's not the best play, but it is a play. You continue to stay in the game and fight, but Stéphane could have a big turn behind him.
A very big turn, yeah. I am scared to see that, but first we're going to see this Octillery whipping the tentacle, grabbing a card straight out of the deck here. Of course, that Inteleon VMAX coming down, evolving right away for Gwen.
Yeah, stick 'em up.
I know, such a cool artwork of that Inteleon VMAX, and it's very applicable because that double gunner ability is exactly what we're seeing. Shooting some water out of those palms here, or I guess fingertips. Tower Waters, as you said, Kyle, joining us on the field here, giving the retreat, or bringing down the retreat cost of that Octillery to be able to bring up that Inteleon VMAX into the active.
All right, is Forest Sealstone worthy of a prize card? Oh, it's not. It's just a pass of the turn.
Pass.
Really wants to value that card.
How do you feel about this board state now, Kyle?
I mean, what does Cresselia knock out at this point? It's not much. It's you can't. You could maybe soften up the Inteleon VMAX at this stage. You can't target down the Octillery because you don't have 6 Psychic Pokemon in play. If you did, then you could have 120 damage available, move that over to the Octillery, take the knockout. But with the Radiant Greninja, that's not going to be a thing.
That is very true. Well, Stéphane already starting us off here quickly with these abilities. That first refinement being used as well as that Shining Arcana. We're going to see the second refinement off of this Curlia on the bench to 2 additional cards after that discard.
Stéphane holding so many resources.
I mean, yeah, that's what Gardevoir does. Just stacks up all of these cards into the hand here to have outs to lots of different scenarios. But we're going to see that Gardevoir EX join the fields now for Stéphane.
Yeah, this is one of the more comfortable spots that you can have as Stéphane. You've already survived the opening turns. The Curlias are not knocked out. You've evolved all your Pokemon. Now at this stage of the game, typically starts to become a race of attaching the Psychic energies onto the Shining Arcana Gardevoirs while not damaging them. If you can get that energy on there and you will damage this Pokemon, move the damage with Cresselia and try to soften up Pokemon for 2-hit knockouts.
Get some damage counters spread out onto the field. Exactly. I mean, we've been talking about 2 prize card knockouts all day with these EX Pokemon and V Pokemon, but that VMAX Inteleon is worth 3 prize cards there. But it is going to take a lot to take it down. 320 hit points on that Inteleon VMAX.
Yeah, softening up even with 80 damage seems like a very strong number for this deck, as you can line up the Brainwave with the 6 energies for 240 pretty easily.
Yeah, true. I feel like I've seen our Shining Arcana Gardevoir go for huge knockouts, lots more energy than that. So 6 energy is easy peasy once you get everything established here.
Yeah, it's always so dangerous to leave the damage on board because it starts to stack up with each Inteleon in play, Radiant Alakazams that can come down and start to move the damage around. If it takes a surprise knockout when you're not expecting it, you potentially can lose the game right there with an additional turn from a Metacham.
Yep, that is very true. There's definitely some outs here on Gwen's side if things get twisty in this match, but so far Stéphane just going through here. We saw that Ultra Ball discarding 2 cards and that Iono and a Mew for this other Shining Arcana Gardevoir.
Wow. Yeah, look at this setup. Every Pokemon evolved to the fullest. Manaphy in play, even if there were shenanigans.
Yeah, true. That's a lot of Gardevoir, Kyle.
It's working pretty well. Boss's orders on the Sushi Master. He's going to probably be falling here, and that's a very vital resource.
Yeah, that rapid strike search able to get those pieces needed for Gwen. So if this Sushi Master Octillery is taken out, that is going to be pretty detrimental for the rest of the setup on Gwen's side. But Stéphane doing this pretty seamlessly here. This Cresselia having these 3 Psychic Energy embraced onto it to put those 6 damage counters on there.
Yeah, Lunar Blast lines up for a great knockout, and why not counter the stadium as well?
Yeah, true. Lunar Blast for the first knockout of this entire game, Stéphane. First of the prize cards here, knocking out that Octillery, leaving Gwen with even less options here on this side of the field. Inteleon VMAX joining us in the active position, and now we're going to see an Urshifu V come down.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw the boss's orders, and maybe you feel a little better about playing this Pokemon down. However, it is just one easy boss's orders away from being knocked out, even from a Cresselia. It's such a simple Pokemon to knock out here, and you can see the prize map start to unfold.
Uh-oh.
That's a good card to find.
Crumbling here.
Ultra Ball along with the Energy Retrieval, multiple double Gunners lined up.
Yeah, we saw that off of the Melanie, of course, accelerating that energy from the discard pile, drawing into additional 3 cards. Pretty good 3 cards, that is for sure. And we have the 2 energy attached to that Inteleon VMAX to be able to Gmax Spiral.
Wow. Yeah,
that's going to be it.
A slow turn.
Slow turn, at least getting the counter knockout there on that Cresselia, but all of those energy going back into the discard pile on Stéphane's side. Gwen gonna take that first prize card of the game as well on their side, but Stéphane is left with tons of options here on the field. And tons more actions too.
Stéphane definitely gets to play a lot more Pokemon. See multiple Shining Arcanas used, continuing to draw through the deck, and it really depends how many of those psychic energies are in the discard pile there.
Yeah.
This could open up avenues where even a Zacian could come into play and try to take a big knockout on this Pokemon.
Yeah, that would be wild. That is very true. Worker going to be played here for that additional draw into 3 cards for Stéphane, and of course also allows you to discard a stadium that's in play, so taking that off the field as well.
Yeah, not a lot of, looks like no energies in the hand. So that may slow things down. Just depends on how many cards are in the discard. And with the Ralts played there, pretty comfortable that there is no knockout unless, well, there's already a supporter played down. This is just going to be some chip damage from the Gardevoir EX, and rightfully so. You're in a very comfortable position. This Pokemon is nowhere near able to be knocked out with still 250 hit points remaining.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot indeed. That Miracle Force being used for that damage onto the Inteleon VMAX from that Gardevoir EX. And now Gwen Tran, lots of damage on the board here. Very little to be working with as well, but at least we have this Ultra Ball, an Ultra Ball to discard a 2 battle VIP pass.
Yeah, that's the way you like to use that card, certainly. Throw those away.
True.
They are completely useless from this point forward. And now the double Gunners are lining up. This would have been such a great turn for a card like Cheryl. You're able to find access to that, heal this Pokemon all the way back. But there's no way to search
Beautiful.
through. There's no artillery to search out the other resources. Obviously, you do have the Forest Sealstone to search out the
that's
Cheryl,
true,
but
yeah.
is there an attack afterwards? I don't think there's the energies lined up after this.
Yeah, that is a tricky situation. It looks like it's going to be the Iono searched out off that Forest Sealstone instead.
I mean, there's just too many pieces required.
Yeah, it's just going to be an Iono for a new hand here for Gwen. Ooh, at least we're going to see that Radiant Alakazam as well. Tower of Waters coming down, and we're going to see this double gunner here discarding that water energy and just deciding where to place these damage counters now.
Yeah, targeting down the Gardevoir and the Manaphy. Manaphy is one of those Pokemon you'd love to potentially work in a knockout with the Medicham, and then cycle into a Pokemon like that Urshifu VMAX, clear out 2 Gardevoirs, and maybe you find an avenue to success.
Yup, energy retrieval, grabbing back those energy cards straight into the hands here for some more damage counters to be put down onto the field from that same exact water energy. And then we're going to go into this Iono that was searched out off of the Forest Sealstone. That's the V-Star power used by Gwen Tran here for the turn. And we're going to see some fresh cards, both players shuffling their hands, putting it at the bottom of the deck. So that giant hand that Stéphane had earlier down now to just 5 cards off the top of the deck.
Medicham along with the Rapid Strike energy was found. Radiant Alakazam can move the damage and set up the knockout on this Manaphy. And this is not 1 turn, folks. This is 2. It's Yoga Loop time.
We're Yoga Looping here, giving Gwen an additional turn if all the circumstances of the move are met here to take that knockout on the Manaphy. It just completely skips your opponent's next turn. It goes back to you.
All right, this could happen. There's Melanie. There is a Rapid Strike energy. There is an Urshifu in play. If this is all played down on this Pokemon, you could double snipe and knock out both Gardevoir in play. But it looks like Gwen does not like that option as you lose 3 prize cards to a Gardevoir.
Yeah.
Probably are in a lot of trouble.
A lot in trouble indeed. So we're going to see that Karina's focus here for Gwen.
Ooh, Thornton is an inclusion in the list. That's always interesting. Not this turn, but...
That is interesting. Forest Sealstone coming down just to thin out the hand here for Gwen. Yeah, a couple supporters in there. We've already used that Karina's focus for the supporter for turn to draw into some more cards. We're going to see this Inteleon VMAX, the undamaged Inteleon VMAX, being promoted now into the active position.
Move 20 from here to...
Once more, access to the Radiant Alakazam's ability, Painful Spoons, because this is a new turn.
Oh, yeah, true.
Softening up that Gardevoir once more and just continue to deal damage to the active with all those high hit points in play.
All those high hit points in play. We see that energy go back into the hand here. G-Max Spiral, getting that damage down onto the field. I love seeing Yoga Loop, Kyle.
It definitely spices things up. This looked like a match where Gwen simply just was not going to have enough resources. Instead now, an additional turn leads to only 4 prize cards remaining.
Yeah.
Gardevoir EX potentially at risk here, and with the softened up Gardevoirs, you can't attach additional energies to this Pokemon because you may knock it out in the process. It won't let you do that with Gardevoir EX's ability, so the damage is capped.
Yep, that is true here. Kyle, Stéphane going through this turn here. We saw both of those Shining Arcana from those Gardevoir on the bench. Now we're going to see a concealed cards, discarding another energy into the discard pile to draw into 2 additional cards to the hand.
Yeah, this is where if you were to include another Pokemon onto the bench, you really have to contemplate, is Manaphy the best choice? Is Cresselia a good option?
Yeah.
We've seen in this matchup so often, healing the damage, knocking out simple prize cards, or even softening up Pokemon like that Inteleon VMAX could be great plays. You have to worry about Cheryl, so maybe you just continue to take prize cards and it's so difficult when you're staring down 320 hit points in the active spot.
Yeah, that is not anything to blink at, for sure. That is a lot of damage to get down here.
I think I just want to knock out Metacham. I'm sick of this guy.
Listen, no more here.
You and your cool pants taking extra turns. No more.
Cool pants indeed. All right, here we go. We're seeing these Psychic Embrace here. That's why these damage count. There's a lot of damage counters here, but they're coming from all over the place. There's damage counters from the Painful Spoons being moved around, the Double Gunner happening, Stéphane's own Psychic Embrace. So it gets a little bit confusing to watch sometimes with the damage counters, but we're keeping up with it here. We're going to see this boss's orders now from Stéphane for this Inteleon VMAX, as you said. Kyle, you don't want that damage to be wiped off the field.
This is a difficult spot because yes, you're taking these prize cards and that feels great, but that was the last boss's orders. There's no way to shuffle that back in this list, it looks like.
Yeah.
So from this point forward, you're attacking into whatever the active Pokemon is. Thankfully for Stéphane, just 2 prize cards remaining, so that certainly limits the options for Gwen. But if you can stick a lot of high hit points in the active like that Inteleon VMAX, you're basically just trying to dodge Zacian from that point.
Kind of stuck in that position, but at least gonna have, those 3 prize cards knocking out that huge Inteleon VMAX for 3 prize cards, going down to just 2 left to take. We'll see what Gwen chooses to do from this point on. What is the hand looking like here?
There's options. The Melanie always is a great way to surprise players. Maybe use that Urshifu V at some point in time to take a big knockout. So Water Energy there always makes sense. And then from that point, you're just trying to take 2 prize cards. Where are they?
Yeah, you need to get those consistent knocks here to be able to win this game. But how are you going to get there? That's for sure. Lots of cards in the hand here for Gwen.
Yeah, looks like every Pokemon just a little out of reach from Metacham. Double Gunner slowed down because one of the Inteleons is knocked out.
Yeah.
20 from the active to here.
So we're going to see that Painful Spoons distributing those damage counters.
Yeah, one thing Gwen loves to see is the energies that are locked on the Gardevoir EXs at this point. You can only retreat for 2. So access to those energies will be difficult for a Zacian, so continue to target down the Gardevoirs, limit their potential range. It's only Zacian that you're trying to dodge.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're only playing how many Psychic Energies in this list? 10? 2 of them are locked on board. You only have access to 8. That's not going to knock out an Inteleon VMAX.
That's true. I mean, that is definitely a lot to think about here on Gwen's side, but looks like definitely strategizing well here. Using that Painful Spoons, moving around these damage counters there to get to those numbers, but...
All right, Stéphane looking at the lines. Is there a play potentially with Collapse Stadium that could get this done? Access to 9 energies is a lot different than 8. And there is a Collapse Stadium. What a play here from Stéphane, lining it up.
That is huge. Collapse Stadium coming down, limiting that bench here, wiping that Pokemon off to add those extra energy into the discard pile, getting the knockout here for the rest of those prize cards, taking the win on Stéphane Ivanoff's side. Wow. There you go, Kyle. That's how you play Gardevoir, huh?
Yeah, moving quick, and that's because the lines were there. Collapse Stadium able to save that energy, put it in the discard pile. Zacian loves seeing 9 energies, lines up a lot of those big 3 prize knockouts, and Gwen was not expecting that. Certainly played very well, trying to position the Gardevoirs out of range of dealing relevant damage. And Stéphane said, well, I still got the dog.
The dog is here, and that dog can take out some huge Pokemon. That's exactly what we saw. Stéphane able to wrap things up in this game 1, so we're going to get into our game 2 here with just 24 minutes left on the clock. Both our players shuffling up at the moment now, about to head into this game. But is there anything here from either of our players, Kyle, that you would like to see differently, or do you think both of them pretty much played to all of their outs and had their strategies pretty nailed down?
Yeah, I think Gwen went with a safer approach in this game, did not take that opening knockout, didn't want to maybe play into some reversal energy shenanigans or whatnot.
True.
And you just really have to blame the setup from Gwen. There wasn't enough Pokemon in the beginning turns, played way too slow, but that's because of how fast Stéphane's setup was.
Yeah.
All these Pokemon were evolved the second that they were played onto a board, and that was credits to Stéphane identifying that going for aggressive routes was going to work out. Speaking of aggressive, why not just knock out an Inteleon VMAX completely clean?
Completely clean. Yeah, that is a huge feat for sure. But Stéphane able to do it there thanks to that Zacian V and tons of energy in that discard pile as well. Getting the knockout on that VMAX, take it down game 1, and hopefully heading into game 2, looking to do the same thing, but this is a little bit trickier than the last prize cards, that's for sure.
I don't know who hates this more.
I was about to say, for both our players.
Double Gardevoir is not fun to see. And of course, those 2 energies in there for Gwen, super unfortunate. Thankfully, it looks like access to the Octillery is going to be a thing this time around.
Well, that is great to see. We're kicking off this game 2 between Gwen, Tran, and Stéphane Ivanoff here. Starting over on Gwen's side of the field. Going first, going to start with an Ultra Ball, discarding a Melanie and that Urshifu VMAX here for Gwen.
Yeah, the opening turns of this deck seem to be an issue. How do you combat that?
Yeah.
You can play Squawkabilly. The problem is you don't want to lose that Octillery. It's really good.
Yeah. It's really good, and there's only 2 of them in your entire list as well. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Squawkabilly being the card chosen here off of that Ultra Ball with that Squawk and Seize. Once during your first turn, you can discard your entire hand and draw 6 cards.
This deck is ridiculous. Radiant Alakazam, Squawkabilly, Spiritombs, Metachamps. The board state could look like 10 different things at any point in time.
That's why you just call it like the Rapid Strike box,
It
right?
is. It really is.
All around Pokemon here. Tons of different strategies.
Pokemon's an interesting word because we don't have any.
Uh-oh.
It's just a Spiritomb. But at least there was an Inteleon found.
Yeah, that's true. Inteleon going to join the field as well to be able to be evolved in the next turn around, starting in some double gunners out. It's just going to be the attach of the energy onto that Radiant Alakazam over to Stéphane's side of the field. Starting with a Ralts in the active position here for Stéphane and kicking things off with the Fog Crystal to search out another Pokemon from the deck. Similar to what we saw in the last game, and I'll tell you what, Kyle, last game, there was a lot of setup and it worked swimmingly for Stéphane.
Yeah, that looked very good. Of course, opening deck search, going to get some information. See that you can evolve once, but maybe not twice.
Maybe not twice, yep. That is true. Looking through the hand as well, seeing what's there. What to choose off this Fog Crystal. Just another Ralts.
Yeah, not a lot of pressure. This is a matchup where you can work in that Mirage step, find your Curlias, and then start to draw out on that next turn. It really is up to Gwen to have multiple Inteleon V, then a V Max in play to put the pressure on.
Yeah.
I would like to mention, Gwen probably started the worst Pokemon in the active spot. Radiant Alakazam, not moving with the Tower of Waters. You have to attach not 1, but 2 energy to this Pokemon to retreat, and that just slows down you infinitely. You're going to miss some opportunities to potentially attack early in this game, which you need.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's 2 energy that you're sort of wasting here on Radiant Alakazam, having to retreat with it. And then having to retrieve those out in future turns.
Are we attacking for 10?
We're going to see some teleportation burst.
Oh, this hand is wild.
What?
There we go.
Oh, yeah,
Teleportation
that's
burst.
it. Yeah, Gwen was like, wait, are you retreating? You got to discard the energy. No, I'm attacking here. Teleportation burst.
Yeah, porque no los dos.
For that 10 damage. Switching into the benched position there on that Ralts as well. We're over to Gwen's side of the field. Let's see what she's going to do here with this turn, attaching that Rapid Strike energy to the Inteleon V into a Professor's Research. Fresh 7 cards here for Gwen. Something we can work with, Kyle. Come on.
Yeah, there's... that's not it. Nope.
That
nope,
is not
nope,
it.
Nope.
That is actually Really not it.
That is the opposite.
That is the opposite of it. That is for sure. That Battle VIP pass. Can't use it. Energy. Supporters you can't use. You already supported this turn. Tower Waters is already in play here. Nothing playable here. It was just an attached to that Inteleon V. No evolutions, nothing. Now we're back over to Stéphane's side.
Yes, glad to see this from Stéphane. There's potential. You use refinement. You try to find all the things. No, don't do that. Just use Mirage Step. You know where all your Curlias are. You can find them immediately here with this. It's just a very safe play. Anyone who's ever played Greninja knows that this is the right way to go about this.
Yeah.
You don't want to troll into these Pokemon. Just find them all right here.
Yep, Stéphane smiling there, searching out these Curlia here. 3 of them jumping on to the bench here for Stéphane. And that is pretty spooky, Kyle. Pretty spooky to see.
Unfair. It's so unfair.
It's funny, the first time my friend was watching the stream with me and didn't know about the Mirage Step move and was just like, how did all these Curlia just suddenly get out there? And I was like, let me tell you.
Yep.
Yeah, because it does seem unfair. I mean, look, this next turn is going to be wild from Stéphane. And Gwen, I'm sure, sees that now, that all of these Curlia are down on the field. And we're still working over here on Gwen's side.
Just trying to retreat.
To that Radiant Alakazam. No.
Not the Clara.
Not the Clara.
We can find the Octillery.
I mean, I guess that's there.
It works.
It does work.
It just doesn't feel like it helps too much. But honestly, this is what you need at this point. Use the Double Gunner. Use the Rapid Strike Search. Find another Inteleon, potentially. Maybe you can start to piece together some of these knockouts on all these Curlia.
Yeah, you didn't get any of the cards you needed off the Squawk and Seeds or a Research, but got it off the Clara because it was in the discard pile there. So still able to make things work, adding those cards to the hand here on Gwen's side, being able to play them back down.
All right. I was getting worried.
VMAX, this Octillery coming down, and we're going into this Rapid Strike Search. Why were you worried, Kyle? You thought it was going to go a different way?
Thought we were just going to attack.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of scanning the hand right there. But thankfully, recognition worked out. Rapid Strike Search is used, and Inteleon played down on the bench. And this is one of those scary turns. As Stéphane is going to lose a Curlia. There's a lot of damage on one of these Curlia. However, Stéphane has access to 7 cards this turn, not including Supporter, not including Evolving into Gardevoir. This is dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous is definitely the word there for Kyle, for sure. Gwen is going to be the first to a prize card here, but...
Is that good news?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, exactly. We're going to see the knockout there on that Curlia, but Stéphane has a lot to do on this turn, and that is that's why you use this Mirage Step, so that you just set everything up, and from here on out, you are just rolling. You're drawing tons of cards, and you're able to go in whatever route that you want with this deck. And Stéphane being one of the best players in this game, this is definitely something scary to see when you're matched up against an incredible player playing a very intricate, difficult deck to perfection.
All right, Cresselia found backup plan number 1 established. If you're able to find enough energies, get those into the discard pile with the refinement, then you could potentially clear out a Pokemon like that Octillery. You could have 6 Psychic Pokemon in play. There's already some damage in play too, but just draw as many cards as you can from this point, and maybe the game plan can change. Fog Crystal and Level Ball added. If you continue to draw, continue to thin, maybe you find that Reversal Energy along with Shining Arcana and could take a big knockout.
Yeah, that would be huge. Reversal Energy now, of course, in play. Stéphane is behind in prize cards currently because Gwen took that knockout in the last turn. That Worker as well took away that Tower of Waters. That's just one more thing gone off the field as well for Gwen.
Still access to 2 more refinement, not including some evolutions that we certainly expect to see this time around. And doesn't look like rare candy is found yet, or either Gardevoir.
Well, we see another refinement here, discarding another Psychic Energy. Quick count of those Psychic that are in the discard pile so far. Just 3 Psychic Energy there. Drawing into an additional 2 cards. Looks like a Supporter in a Stadium. Going straight into another refinement.
Gardevoir, not there yet. This is worrisome.
Uh-oh. So many cards being drawn, but just not the cards we need. Fog Crystal being a card added to the hand. We see Cresselia in there as well.
Oh,
Manaphy.
yeah. This is Manaphy, and hold on. No evolutions found. That just speaks to the detriment of those prize cards. 2 Gardevoirs in the prizes. Bench the Cresselia. There is some thinning that can happen next turn with the Fog Crystal and then level ball. But right now, this is as slow as it gets.
Yeah, it's just that Cresselia coming down here and now being put into the active position after that retreat off the Ralts. Energy going down.
All right.
It's just going to be...
Where does 20 hurt the most? This is kind of tough, I guess.
I was about to say,
active?
like, actually where? Where do you
Active,
choose?
you could set up 300, which 300 is an easier number for a Gardevoir in a matchup like this where you're already down and it looks like your opponent's going to start to find some reasonable plays. Maybe you just target down 2 VMAX Pokemon and try to get the job done that way, as opposed to the original strategy of Octillery plus one of these random Pokemon like the Medicham and Squawkabilly.
Yeah, well, that Moonglow reverse, gonna use those damage counters that were on that Curlia, put it on that Radiant Alakazam there. So bumping up from 10 to 30 damage there now. Tower of Waters back in the play here.
Tried to quadruple gunner.
I was about to say.
It's not there yet.
Only one VMAX out on the fields, but that's at least is one double gunner here to put those damage counters onto that Manaphy after discarding that water energy.
You have to expect this to be the turn. Gwen searching out another Inteleon VMAX, another gunner lined up. Just the energy for the Medicham is a knockout on a Pokemon like that Curlia. Line up a second turn. And find even more water energies, and you can really start to clear up the board from that point.
Yeah, be able to shift the momentum in this game and take some sort of lead here. That would be huge for Gwen. So we'll see. We're going to see that Medicham. There we go. Rapid Strike energy being attached to it.
Yeah, not sure if I love the Manaphy being the target in this situation. This looks like a spot where you could continue to pick off the Curlia pieces, maybe soften up the Ralts.
Yeah.
And we see at least a little bit of damage being shifted there, which is nice.
All right, there we go. We see the knockout here on that Curlia, but that prize card is taken, and it's not Stéphane going after that knockout. That Yoga Loop gives Gwen Tran a whole additional turn here to take the lead, not only on prize cards, but hopefully for this game in general. So Gwen gonna work with another turn here.
Yeah, some slowing down. Curlia is now targeted. This is where I would have liked to see the damage from the Manaphy placed on those Curlias earlier. There was probably a situation where you could have removed at least one of these Pokemon from play. Energy's harder to find at this point. Remember, 2 water energies and a retrieval were lost in the early stages. Squawkabilly's Professor's Research.
That's true. There was a lot discarded here, but the Iono is going to be played. Both of these players shuffling up. Of course, Gwen is only going to get 4 cards off this Iono. Stéphane is going to get 6, but just needs some additional cards here. What do we find, Kyle?
Ooh, was that a retrieval?
What do we find? I don't know. I didn't see it.
Nope, I don't know.
We'll yeah, there's a lot of different colorful cards there.
Yeah, it's an Octillery.
Oh, no, yeah. 3 Pokemon and a research there.
Well, the knockout on the Cresselia is just fine, but the board state could have looked a lot worse for Stéphane.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be counting his lucky stars over here. So I could still evolve. I got a brand new hand. Let's see if we can make magic happen with all these energies in the discard pile. you have to think something's available.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have Ralts, as long as you have Curlia on the field, you got options here as a Gardevoir player. So Gwen Tran, though, down to 3 prize cards left to take. So is leading here, but Stéphane has the perfect deck to make these huge comebacks, completely debilitate your opponent, and lead to you winning the game. So, I mean, we only have 9 minutes on the clock left as well. So these games have been going here, Kyle. We're going to see the Super Rod from Stéphane to shuffle some Pokemon back into the deck.
Yeah, just trying to line up the math now. You're looking for 9, which means you need 6 energies accelerated onto a Shiny Arcana Gardevoir along with the reversal energy.
Yep.
That's certainly possible here. There's only 1 damage counter on the Ralts, which lines up very well. You'd still have some hit points remaining. If you can find the rare candy and Gardevoir, you need both Gardevoirs right now.
Yeah.
And you only have 2 because the others are in the prize cards.
Oh, that is tough. We're going to see the refinement here drawing into 2. What was it, Kyle?
It's a
Did you
Radiant
see?
Greninja. You continue to thin.
Something for options.
Just throw away the energy, see more cards.
Yeah, I think debating that here, and that's what it's going to be. Radiant Greninja coming down onto the field. So we saw a little shaking of it there, but it's going to come down, discarding that energy. What do we got? What do we got?
Curlia, you could evolve the active. That feels so bad.
Oh, it's getting clunky here, Kyle.
Yeah, you would think a rare candy would be available. There's so many cards that have been seen. A hand with no rare candy was placed on the bottom of the deck, and now we've drawn all these cards. Of course, there's some deck searching going through now, but just unable to find the resources here. Gardevoir is found, but
Yeah,
is there access to the Shining Arcana? There's an Ultra Ball.
I'm not sure.
yeah, there was a.
But
oh,
you-
look at that.
Oh, this doesn't work. You would have to place it on a Pokemon that already has 2 damage on it. You can't accelerate all those energies. It has to be the rare candy Gardevoir in the active.
Yeah, you're right. Because it only has 10.
Has there
I
been a
think-
supporter used for the turn? I'm not sure about that yet.
No.
All right, well then there's a world. Oh, it's gone. Your Curly is going to evolve there.
And it's gone.
Well, this slows down a bit.
All right, well,
Obviously,
buckle up.
tons of damage in play. Cresselia looks great in situations like these.
True. There's our supporter here, Iono, coming down on Stéphane's side. 6 cards here for Stéphane. I mean, would you have liked to see that go differently, Kyle?
I'm not sure if it could have worked out. I mean, obviously with the Iono there, maybe you use the Ultra Ball, thin down,
Yeah.
grab a Pokemon that's not Gardevoir, use Iono, try to find Candy Gardevoir. You see 6 cards, and you're in a pretty bad spot right here if you miss. But Cresselia is found
Yeah.
with the energies placed onto this Pokemon to damage it. You can then move the damage and knock out the Radiant Alakazam, which has been a big threat.
Yep. That Cresselia coming into the active position here. Going to accelerate this energy onto it to be able to Moon Glow reverse.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, what was the biggest threat? You can knock out the Radiant Alakazam, but if that damage
Yeah.
was placed differently, maybe a softer Inteleon VMAX could have led to playing for that Gardevoir on the bench that with 2 damage instead, you wouldn't have needed to push for the additional damage. If you placed it on the Octillery, then you could remove this Pokemon with the Cresselia, but I mean, who could have called that from where we are now?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, this is incredibly intricate here. But this Moon Glow reverse allowing Cresselia to take all of these different Pokemon that have those 2 damage counters and shift them onto your opponent's board state. So that's going to take a knockout on that Radiant Alakazam onto one of those Pokemon, taking a prize card for Stéphane. But sheesh, yeah, that was definitely very clunky there, Kyle. Just couldn't get the pieces needed. But Gwen on the other side here Inteleon VMAX hopping into a Clara to bring all of these pieces, speaking of pieces, back into the hand.
Yeah, I mean, so much work from Stéphane to remove this Pokemon from play. Not only does Radiant Alakazam come back, but the energies are there as well.
Yeah, which is more damage.
And it's more turns, too.
That's true.
There's 2 energies. You can use 2 double gunners. Metacham lines up once more on the Manaphy. You're looking for 2 more prizes from there. Is there a setup?
Oh my gosh. Radiant Alakazam.
I think there has to be a setup here with the Manaphy and the Kirlia. If you target down the Kirlia, then you have to think 3 prizes could happen.
Can we do it, Kyle?
It's really going to depend on the draws here and what resources are left with the Karina's Focus next turn. Knock out the Manaphy here with the Yoga Loop. Take this additional prize card. Gwen looking at 2 prizes to close this out. 2 energies would get the job done, knocking out the Kirlia, and that's the energy retrieval to get it done. Stéphane notices immediately, and we're shuffling up for game 3 with 3 minutes remaining.
Incredible there, Kyle. I cannot believe that's how this match finished here. Gwen Tran taking this game 2 down, tying us up between these players after such an intricate and grindy game between all of those actions. I mean, 2 yoga loops. That was wicked.
Yeah, that was sweaty spaghetti. There was so much going on. The combos that Gwen is able to find in a matchup like this, they're so intricate, and certainly Stéphane is really going to be looking back on missed opportunities. Not really Stéphane's fault, just seeing this many cards and not finding evolutions is so painful when you know that you really are just 1 piece away from potentially taking 3 prize cards this turn, 3 prize cards next turn, closing out a match and locking up your day 2.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely difficult position to be in when you're so close there. But Gwen held out and was able to take things down here. As we can see, this was leading to our first yoga loop here from Gwen. Taking that...
Kirlia.
Yes, that Kirlia down.
Oh, well, if this was going to be a game, this would be wild, but there's 3 minutes left, y'all. We'll see what happens. But double refinement, double battle VIP pass.
Definitely not lucky at the prize card.
A lot of good evolutions on Gwen's side, but here we go.
Here we go, indeed, Kyle. Well, we're going to be searching through the deck here. I mean, so many actions have already happened already. We've seen the concealed cards. We have the Fog Crystal now to get a Ralts out. We've already seen the Mysterious Tail Mew be activated in this turn for Stéphane. So we are kicking off this turn pretty early here. Another Ralts coming out onto the field.
Yep.
It's just under 2 minutes.
Moving and grooving. There is a world where your opponent does not have another Pokemon. You find Rare Candy Gardevoir, and just take a knockout on this Inteleon. But you have to play to those outs, identifies that, and does Gwen have cards?
Yeah, we've seen that plenty of times in plenty of matchups
hold up.
here.
These aren't good cards. It's just Iono.
Iono, we're shuffling up here, hoping Gwen.
Any Pokemon here and Gwen feels safe.
Yes.
But Nest Ball, Battle VIP Pass. There's a Squawkabilly and a Remoraid. In all of the stadiums. All 3 Tower of Water.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh. All drawn into off of a single Iona. Yeah, I mean, I guess you play one.
You just keep playing the game. Make actions and go.
First turn, Squawkabilly gonna squawk and seize here. Discarding the hand and 2 Tower of Waters. We still have that 1 in play. Gonna bring additional cards into the hand here for Gwen. Benching another Inteleon V, so we're good, Kyle. We have Pokemon out in the field.
I think that seals it. Thankfully for both these players, 502, 503 would be in their futures, and from there, ID if you want. Coward.
Yeah, I mean, you'd definitely rather be taking a tie, getting that single match point, than taking a loss and having 0. That is for sure.
I don't blame any player for trying to make a day 2 at these events, but if you're trying to win, trying to get 3 points in this next round could be pivotal to that.
You want to tie now?
And Stéphane says, let's just tie.
Let's just tie here. Gwen going through the deck, but that's going to be a tie between these players. I believe this is our first tie of the entire day one, at least on stream here. So
a well-earned break for Wancho. Give it up for Wancho, everybody.
Yeah, Wancho. I mean, I'm always bummed though, Kyle, because I like seeing the winners interview.
Oh yeah,
but,
love to hear from these players. They've been working so hard, testing these decks, finding out all the right matchups. Would love to hear more from Gwen, as such a great play from this player that we just haven't seen very much of. And I always love speaking with Stéphane. So much intelligence there with the 2 international wins. It's just so great to see him playing on the North American side. We're going to have an opportunity, most likely, to see these players in day 2, both sitting at 18 match points, just looking for one more.
One more, take things down into day 2. But yes, Stéphane was one of our players to look out for. Gwen, one of our players coming back to the game after a 3-year break here, bringing Inteleon VMAX box and doing pretty well with it here.
Yeah, what a back and forth match we had. Just trying to identify situations where you can make these combo turns. Medicham proved to be so pivotal, trying to set up an opportunity in game number 1, and almost did just that when it looked impossible.
Yeah, it was incredibly close there, and it was clunky and awkward and still able to make things happen. But this game 1, Stéphane with that incredible play of the collapsed stadium to get the rest of the energy needed here for this huge knockout with Zacian V on this humongous Inteleon VMAX with 320 hit points. Taking down game 1 and probably feeling good heading into a game 2. That was until the yoga loops started happening.
Oh boy, and sure did they happen, as we saw a little bit of damage spread here. Line up the math so that you can target that Manaphy later on if you want, but also soften up the Ralts, remove the Curlia from play, then try to get the job done. Finding some energies. They weren't all there. It was definitely an uphill climb for Gwen after this moment.
Yeah.
Take the knockout on the Cresselia and hope to keep moving, but it did lead to another situation here with a Medicham. Removed the Manaphy from play this time around, and with the energy retrieval, found big knockouts from the double gunners.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think one of the most incredible things you can do in the Pokemon TCG is completely skip your opponent's turn and take an entire other turn for yourself, and that's exactly what we got to see multiple times here from Gwen. And not only just took an additional turn, but at the best times as well, in those pivotal moments where things needed to happen to be able to add up those prize cards to a win, and able to take down game 2 for Gwen Tran and tie things up for both of those players, heading into 5-0-3 records here in day 1.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been great to see a conclusion there, but obviously got some time constraints. Only 50 minutes for all these players, plus 3 turns to get the job done. Got a tournament to run, so obviously